有着130年历史的英国顶级私校是什么样子的 We visited Costtesmore School today, which is one of our top co-ed boarding schools here in the UK. The school was founded 130 years ago, and headmaster Tom Rogerson's father and also his grandfather before him were both headmasters of the school. Tom Rogerson himself also studied here, as did his siblings, and as such, the school has a wonderful family atmosphere about it. The hallways lined with hundreds upon hundreds of photos of former pupils of the school, testament to how each pupil, past and present, is a valued member of the Costtesmore family. The headmaster also showed us around the school's buildings and grounds, which boasts its own golf course, grass tennis courts, and even a fishing lake. During the day, we had in-depth discussions about the school's philosophy, we gained insights into boarding life at the school, and even broached the subject of AI. So let's listen now to what Tom Rogerson has to say. So we're here at Costtesmore School with Headmaster Tom Rogerson. Tom, thank you very much for welcoming us here today.
It's a great pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Lovely. So we'll pop straight into the questions then. The first thing, Costtesmore has won various awards in recent years. You've won Boarding School of the Year, Prep School of the Year. I think I even saw an award for catering somewhere in there as well. So you've been acknowledged for the work you do. You're known for your family feel. When you come into the school, it's palpable. For nurturing happy, confident and grounded children. So how do you achieve this harmony in the school?
Through a lot of hard work, all the team.
Yeah.
We have lots and lots of pastoral staff. We have matrons.
Yeah.
We have gap year students. We have groundsmen. We have chefs galore. We have a lot of chefs working in the kitchen.
Right.
And that's before you've even considered who's teaching chess, who's teaching ping pong, who's teaching shooting, drama, all of these things. And so it's the sheer number of people who are able to care for the children, I think, that makes a big difference. And then when people are hired as teachers at Costtesmore, they're told very much that, yes, you're a teacher, so you're a maths teacher, and that's your, obviously you're very much your responsibility.
Yeah.
But an equal responsibility is the care and the parenting of the children.
Yeah.
And so it's not hidden, and it's made very, very clear that we need to care for the children. Okay. And so that's what brings this warmth and this 24-hour sense of family to the school.
So so just like in a real family, your role doesn't end at a certain line. You take part as and when is needed.
That's absolutely spot on. Your role is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that, and everybody needs to and has to buy into that.
Yeah.
For the whole system, the whole strategy to function properly.
Yeah. Wonderful. Brilliant. Costtesmore, obviously we know, teaches children up to 13 years of age. You've been co-ed school for 50 years now, so since 1974. So
Absolutely
you've
right.
Obviously well established in both of these senses. The benefits to both single-sex and co-ed education is something, and at different ages as well, is something which is obviously a long-standing topic of discussion amongst educationalists and parents as well. So for you, what are the key advantages of co-ed education for children at this age, from when they join the school up to 13? And also the advantage for making the transition to senior school at 13 rather than 11. What's the advantage there?
So we're dealing with the co-educational question first. Just to caveat my answer, we send girls and boys on to single-sex schools and co-educational schools.
Sure.
Co-educational schools might be Marlborough or Wellington or schools like that.
Sure.
But also we send girls off to single-sex schools like Cheltenham Ladies College or Downhouse, and boys off to Harrow, Eton, Winchester. I don't think actually it's as important as people like to make out.
Right.
I think the most important thing is to ensure that the school is the right feel for your child.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. There are loads of good reasons, I think, to go down a single-sex route for GCSEs and A-levels.
Right.
Or IB. And somebody else can expound on that. Somebody else can talk about that.
Yeah.
But I think the co-educational piece, philosophically, some people say because girls learn differently from boys, you should separate them.
Yeah.
But actually, I conversely believe it's exactly the opposite is true.
Right.
I think because girls and boys learn differently, they should be together. Because I don't know if you know about this research, but a lot of the learning happens peer-to-peer.
Right.
So the teacher gives an instruction, and then almost they're acquiring the piece of knowledge via somebody else because they haven't quite understood it.
Yeah.
And so they're not teaching each other, but they're passing information on to each other. And I think that interaction is possibly as important as learning Pythagoras' theorem or about the Battle of Hastings. I think that interaction between peers is as important. And if you're missing one of the sexes for that, then I think you're missing a vital part at this age, a vital part of your development.
That's it. You become aware of how other students, peers in your class, how they're learning, how they're approaching questions. Exactly. If you're doing group work and things together.
Couldn't be more correct what you've just said. And it's an empathy piece, and it's understanding how different types of people function. And I think that's a really, really important skill to have.
Okay, and then the second part to that question then, transferring to secondary school at 11 or 13, what would you say the advantages potentially there are to delaying that by 2 years, staying on at Costtesmore to year 8 and then transferring for 13
Well, one of the advantages is that the majority of schools we send on to start at 13.
Right, okay.
Of course, there are some girls' schools that where the girls from Costtesmore start at 13 as well.
Yeah.
What are the advantages? So the leadership possibilities, I think, are huge. I think just that little element of time to grow up a little bit more towards the age of 13 before you hit a school with sort of 18-year-olds and older children is really useful. But we just find the time structure of going up to 13 just works really well. For the school, selfishly, it's wonderful having 12, 13-year-olds here to set an example for 8-year-olds of how to attire and how to say please and thank you and how to act. So it's for us, selfishly, it's very useful and really fantastic having them here.
So much happens to the children between that 11 and 12 years of age, doesn't it?
It's absolutely pivotal, and at Costtesmore, it's the sharp end of the game. So they're really, really achieving an awful lot in terms of academic rigor. And so it's a really special sharpening time, and I think they benefit enormously from that moment of sharpening and that moment of
it sounds like you find it a privilege then to see them coming on to that for those extra few years.
I think it's an enormous privilege. I'm just trying to think if I've worked. I did some teaching in London, so I would have seen that in London. But for my main career, I've only worked in schools that end at 13. So I wouldn't be able to tell you with conviction. But from your enthusiasm, you're telling me, and it's a very special time of development and of leadership, essentially.
Brilliant. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question then. Now, Costtesmore, we know, is also well known for academic rigor. We can see the children enjoy their time here, of course, but academic rigor is very important. That the children have to show endeavour and that they're challenged to realise their own potential, specifically, not about comparing, but their own potential. This is impressive in your leaver destinations, the scholarship successes that you've had. So how do you attain that kind of fine balance whereby you don't become an academic hothouse, yet you also maintain these high academic standards for the children?
So it's a slightly converse answer, and it's the academic success is achieved because of the broad nature of the education, not beside it or despite it, in spite of it. It's because of this broad approach. And I think this breadth allows children to achieve something on the Maslow's triangle, Maslow's pyramid of needs. And at the top, there's self-actualization.
Right.
And it's becoming yourself. And I think finding out that you are a wonderful chess player or a wonderful actor or a brilliant tennis player or an incredible painter or coder, I think this is where the success lies. I think this is where the success comes, because the children could then hang their hat on something, and it boosts them in every area of their lives, and so it boosts them in the classroom.
So they have that self-esteem, and then their peers, they may not be top in maths class, but if they know so-and-so's great guitarist or brilliant on the sports field, they value each other.
This is absolutely spot on. This is exactly how it is. And finding areas where you can be perceived. It's very important to be perceived and to be seen. And it could be that you're just perceived as being an incredibly kind and community-based person. And that's enough. And so that will feed into your success mindset for the academics.
So the key thing is you've got the space to be able to show this.
Absolutely. So we've got a lake and they go fishing. We've got one boy who's heading off to Winchester who's absolutely obsessed with fishing, and that's where he gets a lot of his joy from. And everybody knows this, and it's not necessarily that everybody knows he's amazing fisherman, although he is. It's just the fact that he's got this identity. And it's not just fishing, he's also into other things, other aspects as well. So yes, it's this identity thing. It's being perceived, it's self-actualizing, and it's using these things to give your self-confidence and self-esteem so that you can go to your maths, or you can go to your Latin, or you can go to your science with that self-confidence.
You can walk around with your head high.
Exactly correct.
Brilliant. Okay. The next question's maybe a little bit of overlap with the previous one. And it's asking, and we touched upon, obviously, all children have their different qualities, their different talents, which you're able to unearth here and to nurture. Some children inevitably are going to be less academically, wouldn't just say driven, but maybe less academically talented than others. Some are real high flyers academically. How do you cater for both ends of that spectrum? So for the academic high flyer, stretching them further, for one who maybe finds it a little bit more difficult academically, to make sure they get on and achieve what they can to take them forward.
I mean, again, it's an interesting question, because you can have somebody who is incredibly academic in one area themselves, but the same person, girl or boy, can struggle in another area. So they can struggle with communication. Let's say they are a brilliant mathematician or scientist, and actually they struggle with the written word. And so you've got this problem inside one person. And so you've got to respect people for what they are good at. Everybody has a talent. You've got to find these talents. This is our, this is our job. And this is back to this thing, as you say, it's overlapping slightly. It's finding the thing that they love. So what provision do we have for people who find things difficult? We have a special educational needs department that caters for every aspect. So it could be academic, could be dyslexia, it could be dyspraxia, or it could be social needs, social acuity. And so they pick them up and they help them through. And some of the most extraordinary people in the world, in fact, almost all the extraordinary people in the world who have made something or who've driven society on, have some form of neurodiversity. And so we've got to acknowledge, surely, that it's a special thing, neurodiversity, and you've got to nurture people through.
And we've all heard of those high-flying scientists who wouldn't know how to lay the table, iron their own shirt, boil an egg, or maybe interact particularly well.
And how much happier would their life have been if they were taught at Costtesmore to interact with their peer group and people, and to communicate their ideas better. I mean, why, being good at maths, being science, is almost not worth a huge amount if you cannot communicate that beautifully and with love to other people. I think both come hand in hand.
So it's a great advert for broad curriculum, broad extracurricular, co-ed as well. So you're really getting a mix of characters, talents, and everything all in together.
The point. To be able to use your talents in the broadest possible way. There's no harm in honing down on your talents. We have some exceedingly talented academic pupils who are honing right down on something, maths sometimes, maybe it's English, maybe it's whatever. But for them to be able to stretch out and broaden their horizons by being in the play or being in the rugby team.
That's it. You don't want your nose stuck in a book. the whole day long.
Because you become a much more relatable person, and your communication becomes much better if you are able to perceive a much broader variety of people and activities yourself.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay, that's great. So moving on again then, slightly different tack here then. As you know, we will have hopefully a lot of followers in China and out in the Far East watching our interview here. One thing they're always keen to know about is boarding. Quite a big step coming to another country and to be boarding. Would you be able to describe for us the typical day for a boarder here at Costtesmore, and what qualities you think equip a student best to make the most of life as a boarder?
Yeah, so the qualities that you need are an open mind.
Right.
So you come and somebody says, the play rehearsals are coming.
Yeah.
You know, tomorrow, tonight, they're the play rehearsals. You go to them.
Yeah.
You go towards these activities. We're going fishing on a Sunday. We're going fishing. Everybody's going fishing. You say, yes.
Right.
I'm going to go fishing.
Yeah.
There's a maths team being put together. It's it's a voluntary maths team. We're going to go over to the local senior school and we're going to do a competition. You say yes to that competition.
Yeah.
There's a lecture by a famous explorer that's also for maybe the scholars and also scholars and volunteers, people who want to come. You say yes to the lecture.
Right.
And so it's somebody who leaps in and is a yes person, i.e. a yes person to the things that are going on in the school.
Yeah.
Because you'll very quickly start to really appreciate the culture and the feel of a school if you're saying yes.
Yeah.
And then your mindset will be yes to friendships, yes to dietary things, so food, yes to that. It's much more, and then you can make up your mind. You can be a bit more discerning after that.
So giving it a try right from the first day, and I'm sure the first day, the first week at school, very important then.
I mean, it's important. I think it's important not to get too sort of hyped up in the first 2 weeks. I think just to remain calm and quiet and relaxed, but just say yes, be involved with everything that there is.
Yeah.
And also talking, and there are horses for courses. Some people love talking, some people don't. But being able to communicate in the long form is really important. So younger children especially are a bit prone, especially in their peer groups, to having very short conversations with each other. So any way that you can encourage children to have long form conversations about anything, it's really useful.
Okay.
So communication with adults is an absolutely key aspect of Costtesmore life.
Okay, well I think you've answered the second part to my question there, which was how you help the children, if they're from overseas especially, settle into the routine and settle in culturally.
Yeah.
So throw yourself in, give it a try.
No, but also how do we help? So we have something called a shadow.
Right. Okay.
And so somebody who's with you for 2 weeks.
Right.
So that's the sort of very direct answer to that question.
From the same age group or someone?
It's from the same age group.
Okay.
Yeah. But then also we have a peer mentor, and that's somebody from the years above.
Okay.
So people from the year above have one person and they mentor them in the long term.
Yeah.
And then you have your form tutor.
Okay.
So that's the person who says, where's your pencil? Or, can I help you get your books together or whatever?
Yeah.
So that's your form tutor. Then you have your pastoral tutor.
Right.
And the pastoral tutor, I have 6 pupils, 6 boys and girls, and we talk about how we're feeling on a Thursday morning.
Yeah.
And so that's pastoral tutors. And then you have matrons and, as I say, gaffers, and every teacher is very, very aware that they are the parents. They're in loco parentis.
Yeah.
They are part of the parental or the way we're bringing up the children.
Yeah.
So there's that as well.
So from every angle, there's care and interest, which is palpable as a student here.
That's very important to be, again, back to being perceived. It's very important for the children to feel seen and to have a voice and to be able to talk to people. So to be trained in how to talk to people, or just the ability to talk in long form, again, is really, really useful.
Right. Fantastic.
Shall I talk about the day?
I mean, part of the question, was asking if you could describe a typical day from when they get up to when they eventually go to bed and all they've done in between. That would be fantastic.
Well, I'll try not to be too long on the day.
There's a lot.
And also there are different days, are different structures.
And a Saturday morning school as well, I think, which might be something.
Well, for us, it's just school.
But our followers in China, some of them probably don't know about the concept of.
Well, what about Wednesday afternoon not school?
Well, yeah, that's the balance.
I mean, I'll talk about the week first.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is a regular. Not Costtesmore is never a regular day.
Yeah.
But is a regular day. So you have lessons, break, lessons, lunch, lessons, and then games and sport.
Yeah.
So that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
So Wednesday is slightly different. So we have lessons in the morning of a Wednesday and lessons in the morning on a Saturday.
Yeah.
The afternoons are taken up with matches, sports matches against other schools.
Yeah.
And this is a really hugely important part of British culture and British prep schools.
Yeah.
And so they learn in these matches, they learn to be good hosts, they learn to be good guests, they learn to win with
without getting too big-headed.
They win with grace and they lose with grace. And so this is a very important part. But on Wednesday afternoons and Saturday evenings, they're not doing lessons. But as I say, on Saturday mornings, they are doing lessons. So the day, so you wake up at 7:30. You come down for breakfast at 8.
Yeah.
It's a cooked breakfast every single morning.
Yeah.
The food at Costtesmore is extraordinarily good.
We've heard about the awards.
And you've just had lunch.
Yeah. So, thank you for that. Yeah,
no worries.
Very nice.
So then it's breakfast, and then they go off to prep. So they do homework.
Yeah.
It's called prep at Costtesmore. And so after that is chapel and chapel lineup. So we line up in the hall, and I tell them what's going on in the day, or I give some accolades, or some colours, or some awards. And then we go into chapel, and then after chapel it's lessons. Yeah. So lessons, break, lessons, lunch, a short break, lessons, and then it's out to games. In the winter, actually, it's lessons afterwards, and the games. It's because of the light; it changes.
Right.
Games, lessons, lessons, game.
Yeah. So a nice rounded life they have here. And
for young children, it's really important that they move quite frequently.
Yes.
So it's set up so it's learning, movement. So we have specialist teachers. So we have specialist science teachers. They might be doing science, and then they get out of the classroom and they walk to another lesson, maths, and then do the maths. And it also is very good for resetting their minds, because they're going, right, I'm not doing science anymore, I'm doing maths. So it gives them time to reset.
Off to a different space.
Off to a different space and think, what were we doing before? Oh, were we doing chromatography? Yes, I've got to get my head back into this space. Yeah. Whereas if you're in the same classroom all the time, I think that's a bit more tricky.
Yeah, and we know with the very young children, the will forces are very strong, aren't they? They kind of need to be moving. So having that chance to move, then they can focus again for another half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever.
I think it's very useful for the teachers as well.
Yeah, well,
because they come and they're in science mode.
Yeah.
They've come through the science door in science mode.
Yeah.
So, I think if you're
you don't want to spend all the class time making them settle down and
putting it out.
Yeah. Okay, so coming towards the end of the interview, looking at the broader educational landscape and society in general, where we're heading in the next 10, 15 years, particularly with technology, the impact that's going to have on education, how the world is changing, the world that our children are being, nurtured and prepared for, how that's changing. How is the approach at Costtesmore going to have to change, and what is it going to have to hold on to so that we don't give ourselves fully over to technology, but we acknowledge it's there and we prepare our children to interact with it in a healthy way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So humans and children are this important.
Yeah.
And technology is this important.
Right.
It's not important.
Yeah.
Other than if it can help us be more connected to each other.
Right.
If it can take us away from the screen, if it can take us away from our, very bureaucratic nonsense that we have to deal with, not nonsense, sorry, but the bureaucratic sort of the paperwork pandemic that is we're involved with.
Yeah.
Then it's good.
Right.
And it's fantastic. If it makes us, means that we are find it much more easy to communicate because you're in, China and I'm in England, then fantastic. That brings us closer together.
Yeah.
That's really, really important.
Yes.
But if there's in any way that it starts to erode our relationships, it starts to pull us apart, then we should be running for the hills.
Right.
Literally, we should leave technology where it is, and we should run for the hills and reconnect with each other.
Okay.
I think it's so important to remain completely focused on that fact.
Okay.
I think, having said that, we're quite famously have appointed an AI principal head teacher.
Right.
But we've changed the title because we've learnt that anthropomorphization is difficult, and you shouldn't make things too human.
Right.
And so it's actually Costtesmore, the AI strategic leadership bot.
Okay.
And it used to be called Abigail Bailey, and we've just taken that name away because it's too anthropomorphic, it's too humanizing. But so we're and also we've had conferences and festivals of AI.
Yeah.
At Costtesmore, quite famously, and people have flown in from around the world.
Right.
And we've had all sorts of incredible speakers speaking at them.
Yeah.
And so we are not averse to having a conversation about technology. This, by the way, could now go on for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and condense my answer.
Yeah.
But it's really, really important. The biggest thing is that I think you should have a conversation about it. I think you should understand technology. I think children should understand technology, and then we should put it in its place.
Yeah.
It should be quiet and hidden, and it should be we should be leading it.
Yeah.
And as soon as it looks like it's not, I think we should work very, very hard to achieve that again.
Okay.
So that's a philosophy from Costtesmore's point of view.
Yeah.
But to start the conversation, the AI principal head teacher, originally the AI leadership bot, strategic leadership bot, we have indeed created that.
Yeah.
And so that's part of a very sophisticated conversation about what is education, what is AI, how can AI help us. We've also, it's nothing to do with the children, but we are putting together, or we have put together, it's happening right now, a project or a research and development project that is trying to prove that it can help teachers live a better life.
Right.
So it can take away their needlessly long administration time that they're taking to do a policy or this or that, especially in leadership.
Yeah.
And so we're collecting data on that. So that Costtesmore, again, I don't want to talk too long or too much, but you can hear that I'm sort of...
No, I can understand,
you can hear that I'm sort of starting to talk about
aware of technology not taking the place of the human, and where it allows us to be more human.
I don't want to make this about technology, especially as our attitude is humans and human connection, collaboration is 1,000% more important than any form of technology. Yeah. And the technology, what I'd suggest is, and I know in China they're highly, highly sophisticated at this, but I suggest understanding it, really, really getting under the skin of it so that you can make it the thing you want. So that you can make sure that AI is ensuring that we are able now to go and play a round of golf. Yeah. Or go and sit in the garden and stare at some roses. Yeah. Getting back to nature, being connected to each other, being
so in
connected
part,
to the real
it's
world.
also that also involves defining what makes a human and what are the important qualities a human needs to have and needs to hold on to.
That's absolutely.
And when we know that,
I think
we know where we don't let technology.
This is absolutely right. I think it's naturally, we all naturally know this. Yeah. We want to be connected, or we know that we should be connected with each other. We shouldn't be sitting in a room on our own. Yeah. We need this vibrational connection. Yes. We need to be connected to the roses outside in the garden. Yeah. Here are some flowers, you know, slightly removed from their initial habitat. Yeah. But, you know, we need to be outside. We need to be playing cricket. We need to be running around in the grass. Yeah. You know, we need to be going playing golf. Whatever it is, we need to be connected to each other. We need to be connected to the world around us. Yes. And Costtesmore, you're about to see as we walk around, is very, very beautiful. And it's very easy to just step outside the door just there and be connected to nature. Yes. And that's a very, very important part of a Costtesmore education and Costtesmore's strategic direction. But if, to answer your question initially, where does technology fit into that? And it fits into it to serve that. Yes, brilliant. That's a wonderful answer. Can you suggest what would be 3 useful thoughts for a student to carry in their mind through the school day
that'll be insightful and instructive for them as they travel through their day?
So that's a very simple question for us, because there's a mantra, a three-phrase mantra, and that is be kind, work hard, have fun. And be kind, it speaks about social connection again, talking to each other, communicating with each other, being empathetic with each other. And there are various ways in which we do that at Costtesmore. We instill that at Costtesmore. The culture is very important. That sitting down with each other at meal times, going to chapel, talking about these things all the time. That's a really important part. So be kind is the first one. Be kind. Work hard. I think that speaks for itself. I think you can work hard in a maths lesson. You can also work hard on the rugby pitch, and you can also work hard at learning your lines for the play. And I think as soon as you realise the harder you work, the more you get out of something. As soon as a child realises they work really hard for an exam and then they got a really good mark, I think that is hugely powerful. So as soon as you can, they can relate hard work to success, I think the better. So work hard and have fun. And at Costtesmore, we haven't talked about this much, but having fun is an enormously important part of Costtesmore life. And so, yes, you do your maths homework. Yes, you do your geography homework, and you hopefully get full marks. You strive for that. But you also go and build a den with your friends, or we have an end of year party for something, or we go and paddleboard on the lake, or we sit around telling each other jokes, giggling in the corner, and whatever it is. Fun is an enormously important connective aspect of the Costtesmore strategy or Costtesmore life. So those are the three things: be kind, work hard, have fun.
I can see if all those three things are happening, then you're set up, not just for the day, but for life.
And preferably, you have fun while you're working hard, and you're kind while you're having fun. And they're
so you don't need to separate them at all.
Exactly, they're all interconnected.
Wonderful. Well, it's been a fantastic interview. It's been a real pleasure to come.
Thank you very much for being here.
Have lunch as well, and have a chat and really get an insight and under the skin of what happens at Costtesmore. And we're looking forward to going and having a walk around as well.
Wonderful.
But Tom Rogerson, thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure.
Very, very kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for listening to this. We hope to see you at Costtesmore School very soon. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.